Hello and welcome. My name is Yves Sanford. We are on our September episode of the vCD Roundtable, September 2021. For those who are potentially at one point in the future actually looking for the older recordings. The vCD Roundtable consists of several people who are more or less constant and here every week, plus a few people who are going to join us from week to week from either third-party vendors or different business units within VMware. And that gives me the wonderful chance to start off with the round of introductions. Let's start off with the usual suspects who are here more or less every week. Or Daniel, so far you were here every week, so I'm handing over to you first.
Hey everybody, Daniel Paluzik. I'm part of the VMware Cloud Provider Solutions Architecture team. Pass it over to Jörg.
Yeah, Jörg, I'm a technical product manager at VMware's Cloud Provider Business Unit.
And Jörg, in good favor, you can choose who's next.
Yeah, well, that will be Toby, I guess.
Thanks, Jörg. Hi, Tobias Baschek, part of the Com division consulting as a solution architect, mainly for NSXT and vCloud Director. Handing over to Vlad.
Thank you. Guys, thank you for having me here with you. Vladimir Strakov, currently R&D Director for vCloud, for VMware Cloud Director Availability, based in Sofia, Bulgaria, and I will hand over to Kirill.
Hey folks, my name is Kirill Krastev and I am product owner for VMware Cloud Director Availability. So handing over to Nikolai.
Hey everyone, my name is Nikolai Patrikov, and similarly to Jörg, I'm also a technical product manager.
So I think that's all. So today, as you might guess from the list of guests, we are going to talk a bit about Cloud Director availability. And I think it's interesting overall. My team does a lot of Cloud Director implementations all around the globe. And it's again and again interesting that we find service providers who in the second or third design meeting actually come up as like, how do we get customer workloads from on-prem into the cloud in the first place? And we go, it's like, yeah, we just implement Cloud Director availability. So where does the question come from? And it's interesting to see that on one hand, what I heard several times, it's not necessarily only a communication issue from VMware. Some of them feel that their existing backup solution or something like that offers similar or easier approaches to it. And then we start talking about is like, yeah, but as long as you use it for migration, it's relatively straightforward. Customers don't need to implement vendor XYZ first in their on-prem environment. They can just actually download an OVA and get started. And maybe I take that as a starting point. Whoever wants to talk about that is, do you see similar things or I mean, you are coming in as the team, but Daniel, how do you see that out there in the field? Demand for vCDA, do people know about the product already, or should we potentially even start off with a discussion about what vCDA does in the first place and maybe kick it off with that?
Yeah, I'm gonna let the team kind of sum up what the value of vCDA is, but right now, from a field perspective, vCDA goes hand in hand with Cloud Director. So every net new install that we're doing, or anybody that uses Cloud Director, is deploying Cloud Director availability. So Vlad, I'm not going to steal the team's thunder. I want you to kind of speak through maybe the history of Cloud Director availability and this organic growth that we've experienced within the platform.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Daniel. So definitely, it's history-wise, it's a very interesting story. I will not cover it all because maybe we'll take the whole the whole session. But I'm coming from the DR business back when I started in VMware, starting with vSphere application back then. And in the last years, when vCD started to be our cloud solution, we saw that there is a need for a solution that is built for the cloud provider, because taking something that is built from on-prem it's kind of a very hard and very challenging to fit into a solution that the cloud provider should firstly operate, maintain, monitor, and of course provide a service out of it. So this is the beginning of vCDA. We had several names in this, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years already. We started with VMware Cloud Availability. Now we have the brand new name. Hopefully will stay for with us longer. And yet again, the use cases we want to cover and the product is currently cover is, as Yves said, onboarding, migration. This is one of the use cases that we support both from the on-prem vSphere-based customers to a cloud provider that is running vCD and of course vCDA. The other use case is for sure DR. Again, from the vSphere on-prem, a customer can just download one OVA file, deploy it in their vSphere through the vSphere UI. We have a tight integration also with vSphere UI. We have a plugin there, and with just the right click of a button, the tenant can basically protect the workload or migrate the workload to the cloud provider. And then comes another big use case for us. It's we call it cloud to cloud. So the provider can have several sites, even can have a different kind of topologies out there. And I will just cover it shortly. But imagine you can have 2 cloud sites with 2 vCD instances running there. For example, one in San Francisco, one in Boston. Then you can provide the tenants the ability to protect their workloads that are running in this cloud site, for example, in Boston to San Francisco, and of course, vice versa from San Francisco to Boston. So we have the concept that every site can be both source of a replication or migration or a destination. So we don't limit in any way. So you can have the sites designed in a way that can be both protected or a target for the protection. And the third use case, of course, it's interesting one. It's our recent development in, let's say, the last 5 to 6 months. We shipped version 4.2 that now supports also a migration for our CDS customers. So if you have an instance in running their vCloud Director as a service, you can basically take vCDA and do we call it a tenant managed solution. You can get this one, deploy it in your CDS, in VMC, and basically allow your tenants to migrate to your CDS instance, or of course also your vCD on-prem can be a source for a migration. So if you have also a vCD and you want to get let's say asset light on your data center, you can move some of the workloads in your on-prem vCD to CDS instance in VMC. And yeah, maybe just another one is a recent development, is an interesting one maybe for the migration and onboarding. We see that many customers are looking for a solution and I don't know, on-prem many VMs that are building kind of an application for them, and they have to make it happen that this application can continue running even though they are, migrating some part of it or the whole application to a cloud provider. And there comes the L2. So if you can stretch the L2 network between your on-prem and your cloud provider, this way you can basically do the migration much more robust, much more, how to say, easy, because you can then plan, okay, I would then move first my database. I move the database, I have the L2 stretch, IPs are there. So with a really small downtime, I can have the database migrated on the cloud side and keep the application up and running. In 2 days, I can move some of the app servers, application servers, and later on I can move maybe the web servers or whatever is building up this application. So we already have that support in the recent version, again 4.2. We support this L2 stretch, and both cases that provider can have still NSXV, it's still out there. It's a little bit sticky product, but yeah, we support both NSXV on the cloud side and also NSXT for a newer and modern provider environments you can both use NSXV or NSXT on the cloud side and still do the auto stretch to your on-prem vSphere and migrate this way. So yeah, this is kind of a very high-level overview of the product and the main use cases we cover with vCTA.
I could actually add a real use case we had at a provider a few months back. On top of it, they actually, let's call it that way, they tried to implement NSXT in a very interesting way in their infrastructure. And their interesting way was they implemented NSXT only on the vSphere side and didn't configure it in vCD. And we're already wondering for a few months
what's going on. Yeah.
Why none of the network configuration was automatically taken over from one to another. So the only fix to actually do that was actually to create a new provider VDC and everything else.
Yep.
And in that case, we told them, it's like, look, it's like the easiest way is just use vCDA and actually move your customers from one side of your data center over to the other, and then shift your servers over, because everything else is an aftermath. So it can actually also come in as a helper if you have an infrastructure issue or something else. As you said, it's like that's really more the cloud to cloud. And what I like there is you can do this even within one Cloud Director instance, because that's
correct.
The challenge with some of the other vendor solutions is sometimes they only work if you have two completely separated and standalone instances. And that's not always the case. It's like we have enough places where we need to do that separately.
Yeah, to complete here, in the first versions, by the way, of vCDA, we didn't realize that. And the first versions, we had in our mindset that a site is a vCD with some backing vCenters, and that's it. But the reality is a different thing. We see providers that build their geographically located sites, having their vCenters there, running in these, for example, 2 or 3 geos, and they built one vCD that manages all these 3 sites, for example. And they said, okay, but I want to migrate from or replicate from here to there, but I have only one vCD. And I think it was 3.0 or 3.5, no, 3.0 vCDA that starts support this topology. So now you can have different PVDCs in one vCD, and then you can replicate between them. And this allows you, and migrate, of course. And this allows you to have your current setup with the current topology, with the current, geo distributed sites, and only one vCD managing them. And you mentioned also the if you have something to maintain, it's also very useful. If you want to bring something down, you can migrate or fail over some of your stuff in the on the other side, and then do the maintenance or whatever is there on your current site, and then bring the workloads back. So also we see the cloud-to-cloud use case useful for such maintenance or some other evacuation purposes, and definitely this is a use case we see also in the customers.
But the only question is, when will we have the full capability that we can actually do live migrations?
Okay, the live migration is interesting story. Everyone, likes it. The question is that, live migration is a very cool feature. It looks like, very nice. I don't know how much of these use cases are out there, by the way. If you can give us some quantitative number, it will really help us. But for sure, we are looking into live migration. There are several options. There are products that doing that, and for sure, vCDA as a product, we focus primarily migrations and DR and protections, and we try to put more and more features in both directions. And live migration is definitely on our roadmap. We're looking into a way how we can provide such functionality. My real question is how feasible in terms of not the technology, but the environments, networks, and everything out there. And if I don't have much data points and much customer feedback to see how much success we can have with this, because it's really, really nice. Just say migrate, and VM migrates, everything is live, the VM is running, you can even work on it. Cool, nice, but do we have the providers that can support and have all these networks and all that environments that can support this? Because vMotion and all that stuff requires, you know, some kind of a top-notch environments, and I don't know how big of a market share is that, but for sure we are looking into ways how we can provide it, and I know that this is one of the 2 or 3 top features that customers are even going to vCDA team and asking for those.
I think it's to be fair, is and I have a colleague here with me in Münster who runs a lot of our VMC on AWS projects, especially also in public sector and really for some larger customers at the moment. And it always starts off in the POC with, we need to live migrate everything. And as they walk down, more or less walk down the aisle of actually, hey, we are getting more to the target, it gets more and more, it's like, yeah, we really can get most of this done with byte migration. And that's where I think to be realistic, I think for most people, it's most likely really in the end going to be a checkpoint feature. Because how often do you really need this? And again, we are talking, in most cases, the use cases where I've seen service providers use vCDA from a migration perspective is very often if they were dealing with, let's say, the typical SMB customers. And for the typical SMB customers, the service provider, I wouldn't necessarily be worried about bandwidth and everything else, but the challenge is, does the customer have enough bandwidth?
Exactly. The tenant is the issue, because if I have some, you know, a small to medium business, I'm pretty sure that, of course, they can get some line direct to the provider maybe at some point, but in most cases, let's say in the majority of the cases, I think they have not poor, but quite normal connection. I mean, network bandwidth to the provider, and having this feature requires much more. And I don't know, you know, the question is if this can bring us a consumption of 80% or 20% or even less. I don't know. So this is, but in any way, you are right. Maybe it can be a checkbox feature, but for sure we are looking, into a ways how we can have this in the product, because migration is very, very strategic for us, and definitely we will invest a lot in the future releases. We added now L2, which is I think a prerequisite for the live migration, and then we can continue and hopefully we can have that.
And I think it's to a certain degree, it's also sometimes I look at it where we talk to service providers, it's sometimes they just want to have, let's say, at least feature parity or equality with what people can get on VMC and some of the other platforms. Whereas again, I'm not 100% sure if all of that actually, if there is really, as you say, the use case. I would rather say we should more look into, can we do something more on the compression side? Can we help with bandwidth throttling especially for DR cases for customers in really bandwidth, small bandwidth scenarios. However, it's like whenever I hear that in Germany now or in Europe here, we have to tend to tell customers, it's like that problem is gone. Elon Musk was here and actually brought us satellites.
Yeah,
it's interesting that we actually, even in a country like Germany, I have a lot of discussions where people say it's like all these cloud things are cool, but we don't get the internet bandwidth. Where I need to say now, it's like that's no longer a problem. It's just a problem if you can actually get a satellite dish set up, because then we can get that solved.
yeah.
It's interesting. It's really interesting and we have this. Toby has one at his side. One or two other colleagues of us have that now too. So we have this across our company combined with SD-WAN in use, and the results are far more impressive than I expected it to be. And that actually solves a lot of these problems where we said already is like, this could potentially even be something for service providers where they just actually buy a bunch of these kits, and if they need to bring a customer online, just ship these satellite dishes to the customer and say it's like, here's your 150 megabits up downstream and 50 megabits upstream. That should bring us here to what we need. But yeah. So that's one part out of it. Anyway, so Toby, do you have any questions? You are so silent today.
No, no, absolutely not, because I'm absolutely fine with this, what you are saying, especially as mentioned before. What really is here a big advantage is also the replication cloud to cloud. I was involved in the project you was talking before, or you mentioned before, with the funny NSXT setup. So from my side, everything fine. As mentioned before, or as already heard, also what is really impressive from cloud availability is that you have an easy setup on both sides, on-prem, but also on Cloud Director side. This just deployment of OVAs and then set it up and have it up and running.
Yeah, maybe just start here. Toby, thank you for this feedback. Believe me, in the beginning was a nightmare, but we spent a lot of spent a lot of effort on that, and we now have in 4.0, no, in 4.1 we have the so-called initial wizard. So you just deploy the appliances and you just go on one URL and configure everything on one place. And we are even thinking a little bit more in the future about that. And we also have internal ideas about something we call unattended install. So you deploy the appliance and you end up with configured the so-called combined appliance that can have everything in one VM. And at point that, but the idea is that you can just push it and just with few inputs like the credentials and some system information, then you have up and running vCDA. This is an idea. And after that, for example, you start using this vCDA instance and you get at some point, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 replications. Then we recommend you, we see that you're using this tool, but in order to use it as more efficient in production, you just can, deploy additional appliances like the additional replicators, then a manager. Do you want to do that? And just clicking a button and we spin off another appliances for you, the necessary 2 replicators and a manager, and you just continue work. So we think of even much more easy experience from the providers, because the provider is a little bit more complex, yet it is very easy, but we also think about just through some very small and easy steps to to spin up everything and just to be ready to go. And on-prem, I will not comment. It's just deploy one appliance. It's really straightforward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. And for the migrations, just to complete one other story, I will not mention the customer, but it was very interesting story from our experience. They came directly to the engineering, of course, through, I think it was PSO organization that contacted us, but this was a telco, and I can imagine that the networks there are great. This is some telco provider. They should have a very good networks. And it was the case. And when we're discussing the use case, they wanted to migrate some legacy platform to a new vCD-based infrastructure. And yeah, they asked about the live migration, and we said, okay, give us the use case. What will you gain? Is it a real need that some of these VMs have to move live? Is it something that, I don't know, a customer is using right now and you cannot stop it for, I don't know, 2-3 minutes because you have a great network? The migration, even we calculated everything with them together. It seems that they can have a really small downtime migrating pretty much 1,000 or something VMs. And it turned out that it's it's doable, and they basically did it without any live migration. But for sure, there are use cases. I'm sure there are some VMs that, if we can migrate it without stopping it, it will be great. So yeah, this is on that. Pretty much. Maybe just one other thing because Tobias said about NSX, funny installations. Now with the new and modern vCD versions, I think we have a really great integration with NSX, specifically with T. And we also leverage that. I mean, vCDA 4.1 is leveraging all the, 4.2 is leveraging all the APIs that we have from vCD that integrates the NSXT. And if you go through the workflow, Nikolai had a really great videos about that. how easy is for you to just create this L2 tunnel? Because why we did, there are two reasons for us to do this L2 stretch. One is first to enable the migration much more easy and seamless. And the second one is we had a lot of feedback from customers that they mess up their NSXT setup, and then after that they cannot do anything with the tunnel. They cannot. They have to redeploy, for example, some network edge, or they have to do again from scratch everything on the network side. And we decided, okay, maybe we should have at least some much more easy and automated way with an understandable interface. You can go and configure everything and have much more better degree of certainty that this will succeed. And basically, I show that videos and I get the product to one of the customers that we very often work with. And he said, oh, this is great. I'm not a network admin, but I managed to do that myself, which was a great feedback. And I hope that many customers will also try this L2 stretch and use it for their migrations.
For their migration, yeah, absolutely.
Yep. You know, and I think the team, coming back to the user experience, the team from the Cloud Director availability perspective has done an incredible job of thinking through the intuitive nature of the product, right? You know, from the deployment steps to ease of migration and protection to, you know, providing this level of self-service ability from vSphere and the Cloud Director plugin, I think is unparalleled to any other product in the marketplace that has direct integration into vCD, right? And I think that's the most important thing that we're seeing in the field is how do we provide a level of self-service ability to migrate workloads and protect workloads between sites without the service provider coming in and intervening or doing some manual stuff, right, on that? How do we provide the ability for an end user to really accomplish what they need to do? And I think that's why we're seeing, you know, continued success with the product. And Vlad and the team also listening to our providers and saying, okay, what can we do next? What can we actually continue to layer on top of that, right? And 3.0 was the turning point for the product, right? I mean, that was the big thing. I mean, you know, initial releases of, you know, vCloud availability were tough. And, you know, I think the team took a step back and said, how do we, you know, really think about the user experience first, and architecture, obviously, and then really reshape that conversation on that. And I think, you know, the team has done a great job, and, you know, I supported them, you know, throughout that initial release, which was fun, you know, from my perspective.
A lot of bumps. Thank you, Daniel, for the great words. And yeah, just to maybe add two things here, which are very important. I fully agree that even now in the couple of releases, I can say that maybe 70 to 80% of the features are coming from customer feedback. I mean, we go and ask the customers, and this is, I think, the key for us to move forward, because we want to build something that the customer can use. You know, we can build something that is really great on the technical side, but if nobody uses it and it's hard to use it, it's no point. So that's why we also switched our mindset to start and really go. And we have a lot of customer calls. We have a small team dedicated to have a customer engagement and helping them succeed. And for sure, we will happy to work with you guys if you have a project that needs some vCDA support. Feel free to contact me. This team is working with us, and we can help. But the other important thing is, Daniel said that it's easy and the user experience is great, and we are now doing something further in terms of also marketing. And I don't know if you saw that the new vSphere 7 versions, they have a pre-installed vCDA plugin. We call it internally a stub plugin, but basically this plugin is the idea is hopefully in the future to have more and more features and more services out there, like a mini marketplace for our VCPP partners. But the idea is that we want in every in every vSphere deployment out there, to promote the VCP program, to have a list of your local providers. Now, if you go and you are, for example, in Canada, you can see most probably the top 3 Canada providers out there. If you're in Germany, you'll see some German providers there. You can then click on directly from your vSphere. You can click on the banner for this provider, go to their website, check their offering, subscribe for a service, and after that you can download the real vCDA appliance, and after you install it, you get the real plugin where you can then do some actions and protect workloads. So definitely all the integration points with vSphere, not only with vCD, we have a really tight relationship. Now even we are building our next products even much more tightly integrated with vCD, but also vSphere, because tenants, I think the majority of the customers, yeah, the provider is the one who is running the service, but if we can have a seamless and easy use on the tenant side, and as Daniel said, either through a self-service offering, or also we have the ability, the provider to handle everything. I mean, if the provider wants to manage everything, he can do that with vCDA. And the same way, if the tenant wants to do it himself, he can do it. So this is the, we want not to break that and don't regress this functionality, because this is important. We can cover both, managed from the cloud provider service, or you are self-serviced, you want to do it yourself, you can do it yourself.
You talked very early about the fact that you now have CDS integration, or short ahead, or I think I've seen the beta already, so so it should be. The question which was raised by one of the providers I talked to is, that's great, but the challenge is that within CDS and VMC, I'm bound to the storage which I have on the VMC side, and that's very expensive because I'm basically putting backups on NVMe storage.
Yeah, not a good idea.
Any plans to actually get something where vCDA would actually pump the data more towards S3 versus directly into VMC?
Yep, for sure. We already have a working group within the team that is exploring the option to have S3 as a target. So the idea is that maybe not only CDS is the case. I guess I already had at least 5 or 6 calls with the customers that they already have their S3. I mean, they have their S3 storages all over Europe, specifically in Scandinavian customers. I see that they have a lot of S3 instances, and they said, if I can provide, for example, the ability for a tenant to protect mission critical on my high-end tier storage, then some middle tier on some spinning disks, and then something that is retention is, I don't know, for years, or that can be stored and or just used for backups. I just want vCDA to be able to move it to S3. So definitely we are looking into this, and believe me, I think this is much more, from my perspective, it seems to be much more useful use case, and something that the provider will leverage much more than the live migration, because this way they can have a whole spectrum of their storage utilized for both protection or migrations. So definitely we are also working on S3 integration, and it definitely will leverage CDS for sure. CDS users can leverage that.
And because I can foresee, I over the last, I would say 3 to 6 months, as the discussions we have with service providers have changed a bit. More and more service providers are looking into at least burst out or other scenarios towards VMC, and I know at least the people from Google are heavily working, trying to build something similar as well. So that they want to have a capability so that they can actually offer, especially these services, because they don't necessarily, in some scenarios, they can't grow at the moment. So I have service providers who just said, it's like, our biggest challenge is we just don't get any servers. So we need to find a new way, because we have customers to onboard and we just don't get any hardware. And others are there who say, it's like, look, we are basically offering DR services and we want to do DR from our cloud. And I think one was in the Midwest of the US. They said, it's like, we currently maintain multiple data centers for this. And in general, all of these data centers are just generating hot air because only
Yep.
one of them is really active. And they were looking, and that was the point where we started to investigate a bit into scenarios like, can we use vCDA and a few other solutions? And we relatively quickly figured out that there is basically no real solution for that at the moment. Because yes, there are some of the commercial vendors who have something, but they all are so far away from real multi-tenancy that they are completely useless for this solution, because that's what people very often completely underestimate, and the complexity of multi-tenancy and how important it is. And to be realistic, when we see the current also security scenarios overall in the complete IT industry, it's more and more important that multi-tenancy is really implemented in a thorough way, and not just something is like, yeah, we tag them so that we know who belongs where. It's like the pure imagination that some service providers just get hijacked some of their backup storages or something else just because it's not a real multi-tenant solution, and one of their customers actually gets infected by something. Some of these scenarios are just horrible to think through because most likely that will be the last step on their business life cycle.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
and so I think that's where having a possibility from within the VMware ecosystem to offer something towards the cloud, because I know we have also the VMware disaster recovery offering. But that's not necessarily something which providers are looking into, because they want to still operate it afterwards. They want to be in full control, in full management, and everything else. And vCDA is much more near to them, and it's also because it's actually solving multiple problems. It's like it's bringing their customers into the cloud in the first place, and then they can use it to actually move somewhere else, and so into a secondary site, so that they have the backup and all of that out of it. So I think that's good news that we hear that there is something coming towards that direction as well in the future. The other thing is, as I got an answer which I didn't expect, that there is already something that much in the work. The other answer is, or the other question is, what I got from a service provider lately is did anyone think already about a scenario where I can just actually click, I want to have customer ABC replicated into this other data center, and it would automatically create everything on the other side? Because currently I still need to create the org VDC and everything else on the secondary side. Did anyone already think about like a quick fix button? Is like, get this customer over to the other side?
Yeah, definitely. This is we call it internally like you migrate the whole org. I mean, I have my org, I'm customer A with my org in my vCD, and I want this whole structure with everything, with the workloads, with everything to move from site A to site B. So definitely vCDA is, we internally in the team also have that as a definitely a good roadmap item, and we are thinking how we can do that, because we pretty much have everything. We have all the integration points with vCD. We pretty much have the capability to move the workloads, and the idea is how we can orchestrate that. And in the it's a future looking thing. In the next releases, you will see some directions on that. Even in the very soon release that we will ship hopefully in the end of the year, we will have some features for in that direction. But yeah, the ultimate idea is to click a button on that org and say migrate or evacuate or whatever we define the workflow. But basically, yes, we are thinking on that, and for sure this is a great use case that can basically leverage, basically provide a good value for the for not only maintenance, but I guess also for workload mobility between the sites of a provider. So for sure, yeah, we are looking into this option.
You want to well build some steps towards this full automation right now. There are tools available that can help with that. I'm specifically looking at the Terraform provider, because that allows you to, with the Terraform resources concept, and the data resources concept, that allows you to like read an existing environment, like an existing organization with all its configuration into Terraform file, a text file, and then apply that same configuration on a destination site to rebuild pretty much the whole structure. It's of course not going to replicate any of the virtual machines, because that's not part of that infrastructure as code concept of Terraform. But for the let's say the organizational structure and org VDC structures and so on, that might be a good starting point.
Yeah, for sure, Jörg, and this is the direction, by the way, that we are looking. We started some Terraform research and how we can use that. Also, we have our Terraform extension from coming from VMware, so definitely we will look into this option, and maybe the Terraform is the way to go. But for sure, yeah, this should be a combination. It's a kind of a bigger orchestration task, so that you can move all these metadata and all this information that the org has, and then the workloads, so that you can have a seamless failover on the destination and everything to power up and be the same way as you have it in your original site. But yeah, we're looking definitely for such kind of functionality.
That's definitely great to hear, because that's I think it's important for people, because that's one of the things at the moment which is still, I don't think it's complex, but it feels like that vCDA has become so easy for everybody as people come up with all of these crazy ideas now. Before, I mean, all of those who have been using vCDA before version 3, they are not demanding anything like that. They are just happy that it just now works out of the box.
Yeah,
and
it's true.
It's more than new ones. It's like, okay, it was easy to set up, so why doesn't it do ABC? It's like easy. It's like, we are happy that we are where we are. But good.
Yeah, we start to mature, and for sure some of the use cases that can be easily done and can bring the value is definitely now the focus of the team. Yeah, you're right. In the beginning, it was, you are happy that it's running, but now definitely it comes a time for a much more interesting functionalities and scenarios.
Good. As I think we could continue for a long period, but as we are getting more or less to the end, we have VMworld just around the corner. Just one more week. It actually starts next Tuesday, I think. So I better actually get this recording out relatively quickly. Otherwise, it sounds weird if we talk about next Tuesday and VMworld is over.
Yeah, getting from VMworld will.
There is still chances to sign up, and I would say it's like, as always, I'm definitely going to look forward to some of the cloud sessions I have seen. Currently, I'm looking a lot into CDS anyway, so I'm definitely looking into some of the CDS sessions. But maybe we do a little quick round of what are the things you are looking for, or what are sessions you want to actually promote or talk about, what people should actually definitely from a service provider perspective look at. I have seen Eric Stein is actually doing a few things, and Daniel, I'm pretty sure you have slots as well, so you can shamelessly self-promote your sessions. Same for you, Jörg. So who wants?
Nikolai has also a session, so he can.
Nikolai has a session.
Nikolai, yeah, then it's also self-promoting for you.
Yeah.
So Nikolai, it's your turn now. You haven't talked anything, so get people to come to your session during VMworld, I guess. Then.
Yeah, okay, Nikolai, what do you? I know you're doing a vCDA session. What are you covering?
Yeah, I have actually there are live demos in the demo zone that are covering exactly the tenant flow in terms of migration to CDS and migration to vCD back cloud. So we have both covered, and the full cycle shown, like deployment of the appliance, pairing it to the cloud or to CDS, and then performing a migration with all the extra capabilities, the failover, changing the network settings and stuff. So all this is covered in the demo zone. Just search for migrations to Cloud Director or to Cloud Director service, and you'll be able to find it.
Great, excellent.
Sounds like a plan. Kirill, you haven't talked much in the session, or Vlad didn't give you much chance to. So, Kirill, do you have anything which you would say someone should definitely look for during VMworld this year? except
what
for
more can I,
stuff.
what more can I say after that? I mean, it's really nice that we came up to that point at which we are at the moment. We're maturing. We have a lot of things in our roadmap that we just wait for us. You will see what's coming.
Okay, handing over to Jörg. You definitely have
Yeah.
something in the back pocket. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
so besides the the vCDA demos, we have a whole bunch of other demos in the VMware Cloud Provider Partner demo zone. Exciting stuff, tenant app monitoring as a service, and a lot of new functionality around Kubernetes as a service. And I also want to point out to the Meet the Expert sessions. So if you have these access to the Meet the Expert sessions, that's a pretty good schedule of people where you can meet with some of my colleagues and other folks from the team to really, get some interactive, I think, Zoom sessions. Daniel?
Yeah, the only other thing I want to call out is I know Bob and is it Francisco's doing a vCDA like lessons learned architecture session? Is that correct, Bob?
Yeah, Bob and Fernando.
Fernando, I'm sorry.
Fernando.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
From
these guys are
PSO.
doing also. Yep. Yeah, from PSO they are doing again a great session, and for sure it's again vCDA and mostly architecture and what you should expect from the product.
Yeah, both of those gentlemen are awesome. And so they've been obviously neck deep in deployments and design. So definitely take a look at their session. Well, everybody's gonna see announcements probably right when this comes out. But the big thing that you're gonna see, and I've been focusing a lot about, is our regulated clouds on that and sovereign clouds. And so then you're going to see a lot of messaging and a lot of focus on that and how we can enable our cloud provider partners to provide a regulated cloud service based off of data sovereignty. And so I think that that's an interesting addition, and you're going to see more and more focus on that as time progresses. So I'm looking forward to that beyond what everybody else has commented on VMworld.
Vlad, what do you have to add to the list?
Well, I'm with you, Yves. I saw a lot of interesting CDS sessions. For sure, I will attend those. vCDA one, of course. This is our product. We believe in it, and we definitely should do our best for promoting it. And also another interesting, sessions will be around the migrations for NSX V2T. I think this is another hot topic currently. I see some of the customers are already evolving and trying to move to NSXT, but this process will take time. And I think that in these sessions, I hope to hear some also interesting customer stories and feedbacks.
Yeah,
this is what will be interesting for me, the V2T, because T is the future, and when you
is he currently switching from V to T?
Vlad, you're stuck in mid-sentence.
You don't run the migration while Vlad, you were just stuck in the middle of a sentence. We were thinking whether you are currently migrating V to T while you are doing
most probably my Velo Cloud routers decided to stuck, but yeah, for sure it's the migration from V to T is something very interesting. And as I said, many customers are now going into this journey, and for me it will be interesting to hear feedback from those guys.
Good. Toby.
Yeah, the same as mentioned as at the moment from Vlad. Have a look at the migration from NSX V to T. All of the sessions which are there are really interesting. Because time is ticking. We need to migrate NSXV to NSXT as soon as possible.
Yeah, and just, we did a recording on this. If you have never watched it or heard it before, go on either the podcast sessions or the YouTube channel. and look it up again. The most important part is it's not a point and click migration. You need to first think about how you are going to network design with T, just as a quick plug, and reach out to people who can help you. Calendars are filling up. Good. Yeah, I said something around VMworld. I'm going to put a registration link in the show notes as well. Beside that, there are a lot of sponsors to visit as well. A few of the service providers are going to be there at VMworld. I'm not going to point out individual ones, but I'm going to do a shameless plug. ComDivision has a booth there as well. Come and visit us. We have a funny video and a few other things out there. So I'm happy to see you there, and we should be there for chat communications as well. Not sure who you are going to catch up with, but one of us should actually be there as well. With that being said, I would say we have filled our time window well enough. For me, it's time to say goodbye, and then I'm going to send round to the group so that everybody can make their last statement and say goodbye as well. So goodbye. I hope to see you all at VMworld and on our next show, which we are going to record end of October then, and then we will recap most likely just all the good stuff from VMworld. Handing over to Jörg.
Yeah, also looking forward to VMworld and to the next show, because there's a lot of new stuff to discuss. And Daniel.
Looking forward to next week's VMworld. I think there's a lot of exciting things that are coming up in the cloud provider space. If you have any questions, don't hesitate on the cloud director availability. Reach out to any of these people on the call. I think they're willing to have a conversation on it. And there's a lot of open collateral to look at and really show the power of it. Vlad, pass it to you.
Yeah. Thank you again for the opportunity and having me on this session. Really looking for the next sessions you guys are doing, really great. And for sure, VMworld is a great event, and I'm also thrilled to see what new stuff will come there. And yeah, take care all, and thank you again. So maybe to Kirill.
Sorry, folks. I had a problem with my mic. Okay, so really thank you for the opportunity to be here with you folks, and I'm really looking forward to next week's event. So probably see you folks over there. Nikolai.
Yep. So everybody enjoy VMworld and stay tuned with our blog and YouTube channels to see all the new stuff that we're publishing, as there are a lot of things to come out soon.
Okay. Thank you, and goodbye.